Good morning. Let us be honest with each other at the outset. It is difficult to convey spiritual consciousness with words. It is like trying to pour the sea into a teacup, and yet we must try. Not because words have any power to heal or save, but because through them we may be pointed, and through the pointing we may be still, and through the stillness we may know. Be still and know that I am God. If we can do that together, even for a breath, we will have done more than lecture, more than argue, more than plead. We will have witnessed. Now, the first thing I must say to you is a contrarian word, so that you will not be disappointed later. Stop wrestling shadows. Witness from I am. We are not here to fix a shadow on the wall. We are not going to polish it, not going to argue it out of existence, not going to bark affirmations at it. We are not going to meet it on its level at all. We are here to realize presence. That is all. You may have come with an ache, with a fear, with a bill, with a heart that has been cracked open. I know. We all know that impulse to rush at the thing and do something to it. But today and from now on, our rule is this. We refuse the shadow's invitation to a contest. We choose presence first consciousness. You will want to ask, but then what are we to do? Surely we cannot be indifferent to the hurts of the world. No, we are not indifferent. We are obedient. And obedience here is a narrow gate. We do not try to do anything to the condition. All we are going to do is bring to it the realization of God's presence. And when we attain that, liberty will be found there. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. That will be our refrain and, yes, our password. Use it not as a spell, but as a turning of the face, a reorientation of attention, not shadow, but source, not the report, but the presence. Whisper it when the mind wants to meddle. Whisper it when the senses cry out. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Now, I know the temptation. You came to get rid of a condition, to make something better, to cool a fever, to thicken a wallet, to mend a relationship. And I must say to you lovingly, firmly, do not let your concern be for health or supply or harmonies of the human scene. Let your concern be that in this hour you feel that surging of the Spirit within you. When you say, I am not trying to get well, you will have to mean it. When you say, I am not trying to get supply, you will have to mean that too. Because any reaching for results binds you to the shadow. Any reaching for presence frees you to be in it, but not of it. We will not spend the morning in theory. In a little while, we will set a timer, and for 3 minutes, we will do the single thing required of us. We will sit, not to manipulate thought, not to project goodness at a distance, but to witness from I am until the inner assurance registers. This is not performance, this is consent. Man shall not live by bread alone, and not by proof texts, and not by mental effort, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God, by the living word that announces itself as presence here. So take this as the promise of our time together. We are not here to tame symptoms or needle the fabric of appearances. We have one demonstration only, the realization of God's presence. When that registers, the claims of error, having no law in themselves, dissolve as mist before the sun. And the sun, beloved, is already risen. Therefore lift up your eyes from the wall and turn within. There, softly, faithfully, take the password on your lips and in your heart. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And we will prove it, not by force, but by witnessing. Now the contrarian rule must be laid down so plainly that you cannot mistake it even when the old habit tugs at your sleeve. Do not meet a problem on its level. The problem's level is the stage of appearances, the noisy theater of symptoms and reports, the counting of dollars and the inspection of throbbing pulses, the late-night bargaining of the mind, the pushing and shoving of thoughts as if with enough mental muscle we could shove a shadow off a wall. That is the level where we argue with fevers and negotiate with creditors and psychoanalyze our neighbors until exhaustion sets in. And it is there on that battleground of sense that we lose. Not because the problem is real, but because we have consented to its terms and stepped into its ring. It invites you to wrestle, and in the very act of accepting the invitation, you have granted it a life it does not have. You must understand this. The problem's level is hypnotic. It is suggestion, mass and personal, dressed up as fact. It claims law for itself. It pretends authority. It puts on a uniform and salutes. But 2 times 2 is never 5, and no law enforces a lie. The moment you take out your eraser and start scrubbing the paper, you have already agreed that the wrong sum is something to fight. In other words, by engaging the symptom, you make it your sovereign for the hour. Do not do that. Refuse its jurisdiction. Hear the Master. Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. If the only power is of God, then the arm of flesh, be it a diagnosis, a ledger, a newspaper headline, has none. Our task is not to out-argue the pattern of error, not to massage the appearance into a prettier shape, but to withdraw our belief from its stagecraft and stand in the awareness of presence. And here is the imperative that will save you from slipping back to the arena. Do not let your concern be for help or supply. Let your concern be that you feel the surging of the Spirit within you. Take that as law. The natural man wants relief, wants results, and I know that pulse. But our metric is not the world's peace. My peace I give unto you, the Christ assures. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Not the peace of better lab reports, not the peace of a fat check, not the peace of flatter words from difficult relatives. His peace is presence itself, realized within. And when that registers, the outer arrangement, health, supply, relationship, reorders of its own accord because consciousness has changed. I did not quit the world's amusements by force. They dropped away when another atmosphere claimed me. That is what I mean by refusing the problem's level. We are not manipulating effects. We are consenting to a different cause, Spirit announcing itself as all. So here is our non-negotiable. We will not try to do anything to the problem. All we are going to do is bring to it the realization of God's presence, and when we attain that, liberty will be found there. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Say it softly, not to cast a spell, but to shift allegiance. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. In the very repetition, you are leaving one jurisdiction and entering another. You are stepping out of the drafty corridor of appearances into the sanctuary. Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. Above does not mean distant. It means higher than the hypnotic level, higher than the argument, higher than the promise of if only. It means presence first consciousness, which is the only altitude from which the mirage is seen as mirage and not chased like water by a thirsty traveler. You may say, but if I do not fight it, what do I do? You witness. That is the whole of it. You turn within, you grow still, and you refuse the name and narrative of the scene. You are not trying to change anything. You are not composing bright thoughts to paste over dark ones. You are not pleading. You are consenting to God as the only life, the only law, the only presence, and you are resting there until assurance stirs, until there is that subtle inner nod that says, I am is here. When that happens, you will find that you are in it but not of it. You may still have phone calls to make and meals to prepare and appointments to keep, but the center from which you move is no longer the center of alarm. And from that center, quietly, steadily, the claim of error having no law to sustain it, dissolves like mist before the sun. Let us then keep to our rule and our refrain. Refuse the battleground, choose presence first. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Now, when I say witnessing from I am not giving you a trick for a frightened persona to use on the world. I am pointing you back to identity. This is the first correction that must be made, or the rest will become metaphysical play acting. This is not me, this is my body. I am invisible. Say it softly, not as defiance of the senses, but as a sober acknowledgement of who and what is beholding. I am not the pulse, not the ledger, not the headline. I am awareness witnessing God. I am that I am was not given for Moses only. It is the name of the one that constitutes you. So when you witness, you do not sit down as Mr. or Mrs. so-and-so trying to get out of a scrape. You sit as the I that is aware, the I that was before father and mother, the I to which the body appears as an instrument, a garment, useful but not self. In that stance, you are already lifted above the problem's level, for you are not one of the characters in the scene. You are beholding from the altitude of presence. Witnessing is not a string of denials, and it is not a bouquet of affirmation. It is not trying to paste a bright label over a dark package. Witnessing is beholding, presence as all, without interference. Be still and know that I am God. Now, why do we insist on stillness? Because truth does not fight error. It reveals error's lawlessness. 2 times 2 is never 5, and there is no statute, no cosmic policeman that can enforce 5 as a fact. If you rush at the 5 and try to push it down with a louder 4, you have already granted reality to the mistake. We are not going to try to do anything to it. All we are going to do is let the light be present, and in light, miscalculation disappears without drama. In other words, the realization of God's presence is the light. The appearance is a missum in the light. It has no support. Now, the mind under alarm cries, but look at me, look at this. This is serious. This is nakedness. And there a very old voice asks a very clear question. Who said that you're naked? Who told you that you are without covering, without law, without life? Trace it. Did God say it? Or did a suggestion, personal and mass, whisper through the corridors of sense and hang a tag on you? Learn to recognize the accuser as suggestion, not self. The serpent always speaks as if it were you. I am sick, I am afraid, I am ruined. But that I is the mask of hypnotism. The true I is invisible, intact, and it bears witness to God as its life. Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. If it is not of God, it is report without authority sound and show without law. How do you begin when a condition is screaming for attention? You do not argue it. You do not negotiate. You do not tell God about it. You turn within as you would turn your face from a glaring shop window to see the sky above it. You can, if it helps, lay a hand upon your chest, not to fix a heart, but to remind yourself, I am not this garment. I am awareness, witnessing God. Let the breath settle. Whisper the password that resets jurisdiction. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Not to cast a spell, do not make a mantra a charm, but to shift allegiance. Then drop the narrative. Leave off the label, the diagnosis name, the dollar number, the family drama title. Sit as I am, beholding. We are not trying to make a change. We are consenting to presence. And wait 30 seconds, 2 minutes, as long as it takes for a slight inner assent, that almost inaudible nod that says, I am is here. When that assurance registers, you will notice that nothing needed your management. In that moment, you are in it, but not of it. The phone may still ring. The bill may still lie on the desk, but something fundamental has shifted center. Do not look around to see if the outer picture has rearranged itself. Do not go poking the shadow to see if it is thinner. Let your concern be that you feel that surging of the Spirit within you that is witnessing from I am. The quiet beholding of presence as omnipresence without trying to do anything to the problem until the realized presence registers. And in that registering, the claim, having no law to support it, begins, as it must, to dissolve like mist before the sun. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Now here is the simple, searching step that many of us skip because it feels too small to matter. Refuse the name. Do not name the condition in your silence. Do not carry its title like a passport into prayer. Naming is the rope that ties you to the problem's level. Every time you repeat it, you cinch the knot and pledge allegiance to its jurisdiction. Drop it. Let it go as you would let go of a label on a bottle you are no longer going to drink from. When you say, I'm not trying to get well, you have to mean it. Otherwise, the mind will keep whispering the name under its breath as if smuggling contraband into the sanctuary. The moment you drop the label, you withdraw your consent from the hypnotic scene. The show goes on out there, perhaps, but you are no longer cast in its role. How do you do it? Very simply. Sit down, 2 minutes, 5. I do not care. There is no timetable, only honesty. Let the breath walk itself home. And begin here, softly, without flourish. Father, thou art here. Then be still. Do not explain the case. Do not dress the report in spiritual language. Do not try to brighten the diagnosis like a child shining the shoes of a bully. Be still and know that I am God. This is the knowing we seek. Presence, not a better label. If the mind names the thing again, notice the tug on the rope and let the rope fall from your hand. Return, Father, thou art here. If you need a key to turn in the lock, use the password that returns you to the only jurisdiction there is. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Say it not to magic the scene away, but to relocate attention in truth. Stay until assurance registers, not fireworks, not voices, just that quiet inner assent, that unargued okayness that needs no witness, and test your motive in that stillness. If you find yourself peeking at the symptom to see if it has behaved, admit it. Reset. I am not trying to get well. I am consenting to God. Let your concern be that you feel that surging of the Spirit within you. The outer report can wait its turn. Heaven does not take dictation from names we invent for shadows. I am that I am is the only name with authority here, and it is the name in which you sit. When assurance comes, you will know you are in it, but not of it. The rope has fallen. The boat is in the current of spirit, and as naturally as mist thins before the sun, the claim that had no law to sustain it begins to fade, not because you conquered its name, but because you refuse to give it one. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Now, to help the mind that wanders and the heart that trembles, take this scripture as your living password. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Not a talisman, not a charm to shake at the shadows, but a password that returns you to the only jurisdiction that is. You do not use it to get liberty, you use it to recognize liberty present. Whisper it as you would greet a friend at your own door, softly, honestly, with no bargaining in it. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Say it once, twice, 3 times, and let it move from the lips to the heart, from the heart to awareness, until it is no longer a sentence you are reciting, but a fact that is recognizing itself where you are. Use it at the first flutter of fear. Do not wait for the storm to be named a hurricane. At the first quiver in the stomach, at the first tightness in the chest, Pause. Yes. Even in the grocery aisle. At the desk, in the doorway, pause. Take one gentle breath, as if you were setting down a heavy bag, and turn from the scene to the source. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Then let the words drop into silence. We are not going to try to do anything to the condition. We are consenting to the presence that already is. If you feel the itch to say more, resist the itch. Let your concern be that you feel that surging of the Spirit within you. Words are the doorknob, the silence is the room. Enter. Do not be in a hurry to prove anything to the eyes. The eyes are latecomers to truth. Stay with the password long enough for the syllables to be washed of strain, long enough that the thought loosens its grip and the sense of a quiet rightness begins to register. Not euphoria, not fireworks, but that inner nod that says, I am is here, and all is within that I. If the mind returns to the label, answer with the password once more, and then be still. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. You are not chiseling at a stone. You are letting the sun be what it is, and mist cannot argue with the sun. Now you will notice something if you are paying attention to your own heart. The password works as pivot. One moment you are staring at the wall of the scene. The next you are oriented to presence. That pivot is everything. It is the difference between being drafted into the battle and standing under the banner of the Most High. But you will also notice, if you are honest, that the scene often looks very convincing, very loud, very authoritative, as if it had law and uniform and seal. Why is that? We will speak of it next, because behind the show of power is not God, but suggestion, mass hypnotism, the world belief that corners you with headlines and pulses and ledgers. For now, let the password do its work. Turn from the noise to the one. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Say it softly. Breathe. And then trust the silence where God speaks without words. Now, why does the problem look so very powerful, so official, so stamped and sealed with law? Because there is, behind the clamor of any one report, a mesmeric atmosphere, what I call mass hypnotism, the world belief that elevates matter, money, and body to thrones, and then kneels before them as powers. It is not a person doing this to you. It is not a private demon. It is a climate of suggestion, a fog that rolls in over the harbor and makes bells sound nearer than they are. In that fog, a bank balance becomes a deity to placate, a symptom becomes a commander to obey, a headline becomes scripture, and yet, in essence, suggestion has no law in it. It is motion without motor, show without substance. What seems powerful is suggestion. Without your belief, it has no law to sustain it. Think concretely so you will not be taken in by abstraction. In wartime, governments hire words the way they hire soldiers. They string banners across streets and across minds, posters with ruddy cheeks and pointed fingers, songs that make marching feel like holiness, headlines that turn boys into heroes and strangers into monsters. It is not evil men only, it is machinery. In another corner, advertisers for a season slipped single frames of sweets into films faster than a blink, so that thirst and appetite would rise without your consent. And today the glass in your hand pings, 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 numbers shifting on a screen, and your heart rate obeys as if digits could lay hold of life. This is hypnotism by the yard, not by the ounce. It is the climate that says, this is power. Then closer. The body. How many times a day, without meaning to, do you bow to a mirror or a monitor? A twinge declares itself sovereign. A chart draws a straight line from a number to a fate. The culture chants of birthdays as if candles could command decay. Who said that you're naked? Who told you that you are body merely at the mercy of pulses and pounds? This is not me. This is my body. I am invisible. And money, that old idol, is given not only a face but a character. We say, he's a millionaire, as if the man were the digits. We tremble before a credit score, as if it were the book of life. The golden calf wears a fresh coat of paint, but it is still a calf. This is mass suggestion, asking for your worship, and it lives on your consent. Here is an image to store away for the instant the horizon frightens you. In 1492, they said the sea had an edge. They spoke of a place where the keel would tilt into nothing and men would pour into darkness. But anyone who has stood at the rail of a ship knows that the line runs before you always, making a show of being the end, and as you advance, it advances. The horizon has no law to hold you. It is an effect of sight, not a fact of world. The fear of edges was powerful because men believed the picture. Sail on and the edge dissolve. In the same way, many an authority in the world, many a this far and no farther, is a horizon and appearance enforced by belief, not by God. Remember your arithmetic. 2 times 2 is never 5. No statute on earth or in heaven can make 5 the law for that sum. If you fight the 5, you give the mistake a stage. If you bring light, the missum vanishes without a courtroom. So with suggestion. Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. If it is not of God, it has no mandate. Witnessing, then, is the gentle, steadfast, refusing to supply belief to the show. You turn, you behold, and in beholding presence, you starve suggestion of its only fuel, your consent. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty from the tyranny of digits and diagnoses, from the pageantry of fear. You can be in it but not of it, handle coins without bowing, tend the body without deifying it, read the paper without swallowing it, but, and here is the safeguard we must not skip, you cannot use this understanding as a trick to get your way. If you clutch the password in order to twist results, you are back under the spell, trading one idol for another. Our motive must be clean or the fog will thicken. In a moment we will examine that integrity, the shift from relief-seeking to God-seeking, so that the practice does not become magic but remains worship. For now, hold fast to this. The seeming power of the problem is borrowed from your belief. Withdraw it in quiet witnessing, and the horizon will move as you move. Set your affection on things above. Stand where I am stands, and watch the uniforms of error lose their buttons. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Now we must speak of integrity, because without it, all this talk of presence becomes a very clever way of bargaining with God. And I must say it so plain that you will not mistake yourself later. Don't be fooled by it. They don't want God. They want a healing. I am not pointing at they out there. I am pointing at the one here who, under pressure, will hold the password on his lips while the heart is peeking at the symptom and tapping its foot, asking, is it gone yet? That is not witnessing. That is magic. And magic is still the arm of flesh, only dressed in religious clothing. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. But listen, if the seeking is truly first, you will still choose the kingdom even if all these things never line up for your satisfaction. That is the test. And let me tell you why I speak bluntly. In 1928, when the change came, when without plan, without effort, something in consciousness shifted, I found that the taste for cocktails, for bridge, for theater, for the old amusements had drained away as if someone had quietly tipped the glass. I did not try to be a better man. I did not set up rules to improve my standing with God. All of this was brought about not by any other change than a change of consciousness, and then the other changes followed. Friends that had been dear did not travel with me. An atmosphere that had always been home ceased to be air for me. I still lived, but not in the same atmosphere. They couldn't follow me in there, and neither could I go back. That is not romance, that is cost, and yet it was not loss. It was release. The outer reordering was the shadow of an inner fact. Presence had become the center, not pastime. So hold that mirror up to your own motive. Give up gratitude for healings. Give up gratitude for increased supply. Give up gratitude for any form of improved human good. Be grateful for God alone. I know that sounds harsh to the part of us that is weary and frightened, but hear me. As long as your thanksgiving is hitched to an outcome, you are still crediting the outcome with power. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Do not trade the Christ peace for the world's peace of better reports and fatter envelopes. Do not let your concern be for health, for supply, for harmony of scene. Let your concern be that in this hour you feel that surging of the Spirit within you. When you say, I am not trying to get well, you will have to mean it. When you say, I am not trying to get supply, you will have to mean it. Sick or well, rich or poor, misunderstood or applauded, I am determined that the object of my life is spiritual awareness. Make that vow and then live it in small ways, because integrity is not declared, it is kept. Integrity has a very practical edge to it. Before we take up our experiment, set your intention plainly. We will not check outcomes mid-practice. We will not glance at the clock to see if liberty has arrived on schedule. We will not listen for the phone to ring with good news. We are not going to try to do anything to the condition. All we are going to do is bring to it the realization of God's presence. The timer, when we use it, is not to make God hurry. It is to hold our attention steady while honesty ripens. If in the silence the mind whispers, how about now? Has it changed? Answer, not the whisper. Return to the only sentence that matters. Better yet, return to the silence behind it. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And then be still. And one more word to your heart so that you do not stumble over your own goodness. You cannot trick God by saying noble phrases while clutching at results. He is not mocked and he is not bargained with. But you can surrender. You can say and mean, Father, if the outer never changes, I am thine. If the ledger stays as it is, if the symptom lingers, I am thine. Thy presence is my peace, my law, my life. That is not stoicism. That is worship. And in that worship you will discover the strange arithmetic of spirit. When presence is truly first, the shadows of fear and want lose their audience, and life quietly reorders itself without your managing. Now we are ready to prove the principle, not outwardly, not by checking the scenery, but within, where the only demonstration is ever made. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Let us take that into the stillness and be honest with God. Now we will prove it in the smallest, honest way. For these 3 minutes we will do one thing only, witness. Sit as you are and let the body find a natural center, hands easy. Eyes may close or rest somewhere without effort. Decline to name the condition. Do not drag the label into the sanctuary. We are not going to try to do anything to it. One inward sentence is sufficient to open the door. Father, thou art here. Not loudly, not anxiously, simply, truthfully, thou art here. Let the breath follow that sentence as a river follows its bed. Be still and know that I am God. Be still. Now, with the gentleness you would use in addressing a dear friend, let the password pass your lips or your heart once, maybe twice, slowly, sincerely. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Again, not as magic words, but as the recognition of a fact. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Hear it as you would hear a bell in the distance, clear, unhurried. Then allow it to fade into quiet. We are not collecting phrases. We are allowing awareness to turn and face the one. If the mind starts to embroider it, to add clauses and conditions, smile at the embroidery and let the thread drop. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Let that much be enough. And then let even that release into silence. And now, for this middle minute, do nothing, truly nothing. No fixing, no bargaining, no watching the mind to see if it behaves. We are not going to try to do anything to it. Sit as witness only. If a thought flutters up with its placard, diagnosis, dollar figure, who said what, do not read the placard. Do not answer the protest. Let it be sound without source, a wave that rises and spends itself. If you find the mind wandering into detail, do not wrestle. Simply return once, softly, to the first acknowledgement, thou art here, and then drop again into the quiet that knows before words. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Be content to be present to presence. You are not the scene, not the symptom, not the ledger. You are awareness witnessing God. I am that I am. Rest there. Let concern for results be outside the door. Your only concern now is the felt rightness that begins to glimmer when you stop pushing. We are consenting to God. In these last seconds, allow one gentle breath to rise and fall as it wishes. Notice, if you can do it without effort, any softening, perhaps in the chest, perhaps behind the eyes, perhaps nowhere in the body at all, but as a hush within. Refuse to grade it. Do not peek at the symptom. Do not take the inner temperature. We are not inspectors. Register only this. Has a measure of assurance, however slight, come home to you? Not excitement, not fireworks, assurance. If the answer is yes, be grateful for God alone. If the mind is still noisy, do not be fooled. Answer once more, very simply, Father, thou art here, and leave the rest to the silence. Remember, the only demonstration is the realization of God's presence. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. You can be in it, but not of it. And in this quiet witnessing, without your interference, the show of error begins to lose its audience. Now carry nothing out of this moment but the awareness that I am is here. And let that awareness do what it always does. Reorder life without your managing. Now, before the mind rushes out to take a census of the scene, stay here a moment and read the shift honestly. Did the breath ease even a little, as if some tight fist had let go? Did the inner weather clear, perhaps only as a small hole in the cloud cover enough that a ray of quiet could find you? Was there, under all the noise, that almost inaudible nod that says, without argument, it is well? That is what we are measuring. Not pulses, not ledgers, not headlines, the assurance. Do not insult the spirit by immediately checking the symptom, as if the silence must show its identification papers to the senses. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And that is where you were, if only for a breath, if only for a heartbeat of stillness. Mark it. Let that be the whole report for now. Understand this, and you will not be whipsawed by appearances. The felt assurance is the demonstration. The rest rearrangements out here are the shadows thrown by a light already present. The eyes and ears, they are latecomers to truth. If you sprint to the mirror or the inbox to prove God, you have traded liberty for theater. Be still and know that I am God. Let your concern be that you feel that surging of the Spirit within you. That surge may be a whisper, but it is the whole of law and life in that moment. We are not going to try to do anything to the condition. We are going to abide in the realized presence and let the condition be what a shadow must be. In light, nothing binding, nothing with mandate. And if just now you would say, "No, I felt nothing," do not pronounce a verdict on God or on yourself. Sincerity ripens the soil. A seed does not accuse the earth because it did not break the ground by noon. Return later 2 minutes, 3 without bargaining, simply to consent again, "Father, thou art here." If agitation is loud, keep it simple. One breath, one password. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And then silence. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. You can be in it but not of it, even when the surface wind is high. Our aim now is to make this not an occasional visit, but a home address. Establish a rhythm so that you live above the level, not dip in and out when sirens sound. At least morning, noon, and evening, sit down for a minute or 3 with no agenda but God. Refuse the name, use the password if needed, and wait for assurance, no more, no less. As this cadence sets, you will discover that assurance comes more readily, not because you are skillful, but because you are faithful. And life, without your managing, begins to consent to the order of spirit. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Carry that as your reading of every hour. Measure the inner assurance, not the outer condition, and let God be God. Now let us make this practical as a rule of life, because without rhythm you will find yourself dipping in and out, brave at 10 in the morning and tangled by 10:30. Rhythm keeps you abiding above the level, steady in the altitude of I am, while the traffic of appearance passes under your feet. So set this cadence not as law, but as love, at least 3 times a day. Give 5 quiet minutes until something in you says, "Yes, morning," before the world gets its hand on your sleeve. Noon. While the wheel of the day is still turning, evening, before sleep gathers the thoughts, sit, drop the label. Say once, "Father, thou art here." Whisper the password. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And then wait, not counting seconds, but waiting until that inner assent, however slight, registers. When it does, stop. Do not gild it. Be grateful for God alone. That is your appointment. Keep it more faithfully than you keep any flesh and blood engagement, because this is your heir. Between those anchors, practice micro moments. Make a sacrament of the ordinary. Before you open an email that has a history of tightening your chest, pause 1 breath and bring the password to attention. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Then silence, even for half a heartbeat, and only then click. At a red light, instead of rehearsing grievances, let the foot be idle and the heart awake. Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. Then no more words, just the stillness that knows. At the sink, as the warm water runs, do not trouble about the day's stains. Turn for a moment, as brief as a sigh, toward the presence. Be still and know that I am God. 1 breath, silence. In the elevator, at the threshold of a meeting, with the phone ringing, password, breath, silence. These pivots are small, but they reroute you from the scene's level to the level of I am, and you will discover that many a snare unties itself simply because you did not put your hand in it. Now, about life in the marketplace. Do your work. Pay your bills. Answer your letters. Take care of the body's simple needs. You can be in it, but not of it. Handle coins without bowing to them. Read figures without trembling before them. Sit with your physician without granting to instruments a jurisdiction above. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Let the work be work, but life be life. When worry thoughts shuffle in like petitioners with stamped papers, do not argue their case. Substitute once with authority. Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above, or I and my Father are one. Or simply, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Then close the court. No more pleading. We are not going to try to do anything to the condition. We are going to abide in the realized presence and let the condition be what a shadow must be in light, nothing with mandate. And let us be wise about community, because a great deal of backsliding happens under the flag of fellowship. Share presence, not problems. Do not socialize symptoms. If a friend asks for help, you need no recital of details. A name is a rope, refuse it kindly. We will not discuss it. We will be still and know. If conversation wants to tumble into the latest aches and alarms, do not be rude, be firm. Turn the talk toward the one or turn it into silence. Better 1 minute of quiet recognition together than 30 minutes of swapping headlines with trembling hands. Carry the atmosphere. Do not inhale the fog. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Be that liberty in the room, and many a small storm will spend itself without ever making the table shake. You will say, I don't have time. You do. You have given hours to rehearsing anxieties. You can spare 5 minutes 3 times. You will say, I try and I get sleepy. Then make the sessions shorter and more frequent. Stand if you must, splash water on the face, and return. You will say, but work is demanding, the world pulls. Yes, the world pulls. You do not have to go. 1 breath, password silence, and you are abiding above, even while the hands type and the feet move. You will say, friends, expect me to sympathize. Learn the difference between sympathy and soul. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Offer that peace, and you will have loved them better than if you had passed the cup of fear back and forth. These gentle corrections keep you honest. Take them not as scolding, but as steering. Make this your rule. Let no hour go unblessed, either by the fuller times, those 5 quiet minutes until yes, or by micro moments that pivot the heart from appearance to presence. Set your affection on things above. Let your concern never be to fix the scene, but to feel the inner assurance. And from that altitude, go about your day, emails and errands, meetings and meals, without surrendering to their terms. In it, yes. Of it, no. If you keep the rhythm will keep you. And quietly, without your managing, life will consent to the order already present in God. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Let that be the bell that calls you again and again to live above the level. Now, because the mind is quick to argue its case, let us face the objections that usually rise right after assurance begins to dawn. First, what if it's an emergency? I don't have 3 minutes. In an emergency, you have 30 seconds. And that is enough to change the level from which you act. 1 breath, gentle, honest. 1 password, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. 1 acknowledgement, Father, thou art here. That much. Then move your feet as needed, but not from panic, from peace. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Does not mean freeze. It means do not be drafted into the battleground of fear. When the heart steadies even a notch, you will find that the next right action presents itself, and it will bear a different fruit because it was not born of terror. You can be in it, but not of it. In that half-minute pivot, you turn the helm from the storm to the presence that still storms. Second, isn't refusing the level just denial? No. We are not denying appearance, we are denying it law. There is a difference. To shout there is no problem, while trembling is self-hypnosis. To recognize that anything not of God has no mandate is witnessing. 2 times 2 is never 5. You do not argue the 5, you shine the principle, and the mistake yields place. So when a scene presents itself with siren and badge and says, I am power, you answer inwardly, thou couldst have no power at all against me except it were given thee from above. We are not going to try to do anything to it. We are going to bring to it the realization of God's presence. That is not pretense. That is truth disarming pretense. Third, what about medicine? Money, the means of the day. Listen, we offer no outer prescriptions here. Render unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Render unto God what is God's. If you take a pill, take it without making it a god. If you see a physician, see him without granting him the key to life. If you sign a paper, sign it without bowing to ink. Continue responsible care, but withdraw the crown. The means are tools in a world of forms. They are not lawgivers. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Be in it, but not of it, and you will discover that means serve rather than command when you stand in I am. Fourth, how long will it take? Until assurance registers. Presence is not on your clock. Sometimes the pivot is 10 seconds. Sometimes it is many returns in a day. A seed does not accuse the earth because it did not break the ground by noon. Your task is faithfulness, not speed. Let your concern be that you feel that surging of the Spirit within you. Leave the calendar to the world belief. My times are in thy hand. If the mind asks again, how long? Answer with your password and fall quiet. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And wait, not as a beggar at a window, but as a branch abiding in its vine. Fifth, what about gratitude? Shouldn't I thank God when the report changes? Give up gratitude for healings, for supply, for any improved scene. Be grateful for God alone. I know that sounds upside down to the part of us that is tired of pain, but this is the safeguard of integrity. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. If your thanks is pinned to outcomes, your worship is still bargaining. When you say, I'm not trying to get well, you have to mean it. Give thanks now, at the first whisper of assurance, and give thanks still, if nothing out here salutes. Gratitude for God is the song of liberty. Gratitude for outcomes is the echo of the arm of flesh. Every objection, you see, is only another invitation to return to presence and refuse the scene's terms. Let the questions come. Answer them all the same way with the pivot to I am. And now we will take the practice out of the quiet room and into the open air. Eyes open, phones buzzing, faces near, the world presenting a trigger. Can you remain above the level? Yes. One breath. Thou art here. One password, softly inwardly. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Then keep your eyes on the person or the task while your heart abides in the hush. We are not going to try to do anything to it. We are going to stand where God stands and let action proceed from peace. In it, not of it. This is the experiment we make next. All right? Let us do it now. Live as the world actually comes. Do not choose a saintly moment. Take a trigger that is already breathing in the room. Perhaps your phone just pinged past due. Cedar Street Utilities. Perhaps there is a text from your brother with a sharp line in it. Perhaps a small twinge just moved through the rib or the knee and the mind leaped to name it. Good. We will not run to a quiet room. We will bring the quiet here. Eyes open. Hands where they are. The scene present as it is. Now this first half minute, look at it. Do not name it. Do not read its caption. Do not tell a story about yesterday or tomorrow. Let it be as a shape in the field of vision. Turn not from it, but from its supposed power to presence. Soft, inward, almost less than a whisper, Father, thou art here. Again, not to make anything happen, not to shove at the picture, but to recognize what is. One gentle breath as if setting down a bag. Be still and know that I am God. We are not going to try to do anything to it. We are consenting to God. Now let the next half minute carry one sentence like a bell across water. Once, simply, honestly, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. If the syllables were hurried, say it again and slow it down until heart hears it. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Do not pile on phrases. Let the words drop, and after they drop, do not dive after them. Stand in the hush they open. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let that peace, even as a small thread, be the whole occupation. From here to the second minute, remain as you are, eyes open, the trigger still in the periphery or even in front of you, and do nothing. No composing a reply, no opening the ledger, no pressing on the sore place. You can be in it but not of it. Let the appearance do what a wave does, rise and fall without your rowing. If a sentence springs up to argue, this is serious, this will cost, this is getting worse, do not debate. Inwardly answer once and only once, thou couldst have no power at all against me except it were given thee from above, and then drop back into the quiet that knows before words. Remember your arithmetic. 2 times 2 is never 5. No uniform can make it law. We are not denying that a picture is on the screen. We are denying it mandate. Witness no solving. Presence first, always. Now, as the second minute turns into the third, feel for that modest assurance, perhaps only a softening behind the eyes, perhaps only an inner nod that says, without fanfare, it is well. From that, and only from that, notice if a next simple step presents itself. If the bill is the shape, maybe the peaceful step is to move it to the desk tray marked 2 p.m. and set a reminder, no hurry, no dread. If the text is the shape, perhaps the step is to put the phone face down and wash a dish, letting the right words ripen in silence before you answer later. If it was a bodily twinge, perhaps the step is to stand and stretch once, or to drink a glass of water again, not as magic, not as tribute to matter, but as an act taken from peace. And if no step arises, take none. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Movement born of assurance bears its own witness. Haste is the scent of the battleground. Let the doing, if any, be the overflow of quiet, not an attempt to bribe fear. Seal this now with the truth that keeps it clean. We are not going to try to do anything to it. We refuse the problem's level. We move only as peace moves. If there is action, it is God's action written in small human letters. If there is no action, it is still God's action, the rest that refuses to be drafted by suggestion. You can face any moment without dropping to its level. One breath, Father, thou art here. One password. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Eyes open, heart in the hush, hands doing the next simple thing if given. In it but not of it, this is living under the banner of I am. And under that banner the uniforms of error lose their buttons and fall like costumes after a play. My times are in thy hand. Let that be the end of it and the beginning. Now let us gather the thread and tie it where it belongs, because from this hour you have no demonstration to make except one, the realization of the presence of God. Not a dozen, not 3, 1. We are not going to try to do anything to conditions. We are going to bring to every moment the consciousness of the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. When you say, I'm not trying to get well, you have to mean it. When you say, I'm not trying to straighten out the ledger, you have to mean it. Your concern is not for health, not for supply. not for getting someone to be kind to you. Let your concern be that you feel that surging of the Spirit within you, that quiet assurance, even if it is only the faintest nod that says, "It is well. Be still and know that I am God." That is the one demonstration. And then what? Then, without your managing, life consents to order, taste change. The appetite for the world's amusements thins, not because you are noble, but because you are fed. The fear of the body loosens. This is not me. This is my body. I am invisible. The fear of money, the trembling before columns of figures, begins to look like a stage play that forgot it was play. Supply reorganizes as consequence, not as conquest. Work may change its terms. Some friendships drift to the distance without reproach. Others appear at your elbow like companions you always had but could not see. You still live, but not in the same atmosphere. You are in it, but not of it. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. That peace becomes the climate, and in that climate fruits ripen without your tugging at the branches. But hear this, because it saves you from the old bargain dressed in new clothes, give up gratitude for outcomes. Give up gratitude for healings, for larger checks, for a smoother household. Those are shadows thrown by light. Be grateful for God alone. If you thank God because the medical report brightened, you are still bowing to the report as law. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. So be grateful for the word, for the realized presence. Be grateful when the assurance is a whisper and nothing outside salutes. Be grateful when the whisper grows to a song and the scene rearranges. Gratitude anchored in God is liberty. Gratitude tethered to events is the arm of flesh. Now the charge. Simple, steady, doable. Keep the rhythm. Morning, noon, evening. Sit long enough for assurance to register. Drop the name. Refuse the scene's terms. Whisper once, very simply, "Father, thou art here." Speak your password once, twice if needed. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Then let the words go and wait as a branch abides in its vine. If the mind chatters, do not argue. Return to the hush that knows. When the inner yes comes, stop. Go about your work as one who has saluted the King. Between these anchors, make micro pivots, one breath before the email, one breath at a red light, one breath at the threshold of a meeting, password, silence. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee. If emergencies come, and they come, give 30 honest seconds. One breath, thou art here, one password. Then act without panic. Seek presence alone. Everything else will find its rightful place. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. The adding is none of your business. Your business is the seeking, not with strain, not with bargaining, but with the quiet, resolute turning that has become your way. 2 times 2 is never 5, and no uniform of error can make it law. The hypnotic show draws its power from your consent. Withdraw it, and you will watch the costumes fall like leaves when the sap has returned to the root. And if you ask, what will I be when this becomes the habit of heart? I tell you, you will still answer your phone, still cook your meals, still balance your accounts, but you will say with truth, I still live, but not in the same atmosphere. You will know yourself not as a body bullied by reports, not as a purse pushed by figures, but as awareness witnessing God. And in that witnessing, the one demonstration is ever at hand, the realized presence that reorders life without your pushing and your pulling. So let us end as we began, with a password, not as charm, but as fact. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Thank you.